This is the Spartan Body and Mind podcast. My name is Seth Winterhalter. Spartan Body and Mind. We're here to help men reclaim their manhood by stopping with the shitty excuses and starting by taking extreme ownership of the parts of life that matter. Let me say that again. We're here to help you, if you're a man, to reclaim your manhood. And we're not talking about going out into the woods, painting our faces, and howling at the moon. I'm not talking about eating livers and bison balls and weirdness like that. I'm talking about manhood, real manhood, where you master yourself, you master the ability to thrive in healthy relationships, and you master the purpose that you're on the earth for. Why are you living? Why are you breathing? It should be to live out a meaningful life. And that's what we want to talk about today. You know, I've been trying to kind of figure out where the Spartan Program is going. And the Spartan Program is a little bit different. Remember, we have the podcast, the Spartan Body and Mind podcast, and this is where we just want to dialogue. I want to dialogue. I want to get stuff off my mind, try to help you with insights, with things that I hope are inspiring to help you make the most of your life. And over the last year, I've been trying to figure out, what am I doing with this element of my life? Because remember, this is only one element of my life, kind of personal coaching. I would consider this kind of life coaching, health and wellness coaching, whatever you want to call it. I really want to coach the whole person. That's why I don't consider myself a health and wellness coach. While I do nutrition and training, that's not, again, I don't have degrees in that. I'm studying that. I just have a lot of experience in it, life experience. I have a lot of friends who are in that realm, so I've learned a lot, studied a lot, and I have my own story with health and wellness. But that wouldn't interest me to just do that with the whole of my life or the whole of this section of my life. I want to help people become all that they can be. And specifically, I want to help men, because I think men have a lot of issues right now. At this time in culture, I think specifically that manhood is under attack. And I don't want to sound like an alarmist or one of those voices that's always railing against culture, but there is a reality that manhood is under attack because there are some who are trying to make manhood what it's not. On both sides, they're trying to, on one side, feminize manhood and so that it doesn't exist. And on another side, they're trying to make it so alpha, so macho, that it's such a weak version of manhood. It's such a pathetic version. Although it pretends it's strong, its very essence is weakness because it's all an external facade. It has no depth to it. And so when I say I'm here to help men specifically reclaim manhood, I want to talk about that. What do I mean by manhood? Well, first, like I say in my statement, I help men reclaim their manhood by doing two predominant things. Number one, stop making shitty excuses. And pardon my language if that offends you. But here's the truth. I was in pastoral ministry for 20 years, and I've heard a lot of shitty excuses. And it's one of the reasons it actually made me transition out of church work is there's just such and again, I'm not speaking of just Christianity or just religion. This is in every aspect of life. There's just a lot of places, right? I go to church, and so this is where I'm trying to become a better man by, I do this one thing one time a week, or maybe I go to church on Sundays, and then I go to a small group, and I'm trying to be better. But there's these, right? There's 2 hours twice a week where you're where you're saying you're doing something, and I would even question how well you're doing those 2 hours. But there's a lot of other hours in the week. And what I find is that men, and I'm sure women do this too, but men make a lot of excuses by saying, well, see, I put in some time and it didn't do anything for me. Like you want it to magically transform your life without any effort. Like that's not how the world works. Yes, you can go to something like church, or you can read a book, or you can go be a part of a mastermind. There's so many ways for you to be encouraged, for you to be given insights, for you to be inspired, but you have to do the work. And the problem is men do as little work as possible and then bitch that things didn't go well for them. And that's what I'm trying to get you to do, is I want you to reclaim manhood. And what is really manhood? I think manhood, boiled down, if you want one word for it, it's responsibility. It's taking responsibility. And that's what I want to talk about today. I help men reclaim their manhood by stopping the shitty excuses, because it has to start there. Stop with the excuses. And then start by taking extreme ownership of what really matters. So that's what I want to talk about. What is it that really matters? And I think you can boil it down to three things. There are three aspects of a man's life. There are three aspects that when you take responsibility, you should take responsibility over these three key areas. And if you do, I think all the other sub areas, all the other elements of life will fall into place. So here they are. The three aspects, the three primary aspects of a man's life. If you want to reclaim your manhood, then focus on these, and focus on these in this order. Number one, you need to focus on yourself. You need to you need to prioritize yourself. Not in some selfish, self-centered, I can't do anything with my life until I'm perfect BS. No. You need to look in the mirror and say three areas. How am I physically? How is my body? Am I fit for the work that I need to accomplish? Am I fit for pouring out my life, for taking responsibility and pouring out my life in the other areas of my life? Am I fit? That doesn't mean you need a six-pack ab. It doesn't mean you need to spend 3 hours a day in the gym, but are you fit? Here's the problem. Most men are not. Over 75% of American men are overweight. Over 40% are obese. That is not fit. That is lazy. That is apathetic. That is eating for comfort and not for fuel. That is being lazy with life. And it's having an effect. It's impacting your mental space. It's impacting your emotional space. And it's impacting your physical reality. Do you have the energy to pour in to the next two things that we're going to talk about? So number one, when you have to evaluate yourself, take responsibility of yourself physically, it's time to get fit. And when you're physically fit, you become mentally sharp. Your mind is the second aspect of yourself. Your mind needs to be fit so it can make decisions. And decisions need to be based in logic. They need to be based in seeking truth, not in feelings. And I see this. When you are physically out of shape, you are mentally out of shape, and you begin to be dominated by the feelings going on in your mind. Negative feelings, assumptions, just a bunch of junk. And then you wonder why your emotions are out of whack, why you're so depressed, why you're prone to frustration, why you're prone to fits of anger, all of these things. So, the first aspect of a man reclaiming his manhood is he takes responsibility for himself. And he figures out, how do I become physically fit so I can become mentally sharp and so I become in control of my emotions? Emotions are a good thing. You should experience joy and bliss. You should experience sorrow. There's sorrow in the world. You shouldn't run from that. You should embrace it. But you shouldn't wallow in any of those emotions. You shouldn't wallow in self-pity and sadness. And you shouldn't live just to live on the mountaintop of joy and bliss. You should live to experience the gamut of it, but to experience the gamut of it and not be controlled by it, to not let those things dictate your life. So, number one, take responsibility for yourself. Number two, then, in this order, you then take responsibility of your relationships. These are in order as well, and this won't apply. Not everyone is married, but if you are, that's the first relationship that you have to take priority over. And nothing else should get in the way of that, because if it does, that relationship's going to suffer, right? And you see this all the time. Kids come along, they become the focus, the marriage suffers, all of a sudden your roommates who share bills who oversee kids. And so you've got to figure out a plan and a strategy to take responsibility for your marriage. And you have to be careful here too. I think there's a pressure from society, from a certain part of society that says, that's right, men need to man up and you just need to die to self and it's all about everything you pour into. Listen, to be in a healthy relationship means you need to be served as well. It's a give and take. It's a relationship. Be careful that you, in the name of manhood, are feeling the pressure to die on an altar where you pour into your spouse in such an unhealthy way that she becomes just this on the mountaintop and you're a slave to that. Be careful, because I think there's an aspect of society that makes then women so weak that they're almost a child that they need to be taken care of. She should be a partner in that. There should be dual service. There should be, right, a loving relationship. There should be care and listening and growth together. But what are you doing to foster that? I think, right? Are you pouring in? Do you have the physical, mental, emotional space, energy, health to pour into a healthy marriage? And what does that look like for your children? They're next. How do I pour into these children? What is my responsibility for these children? Am I living out the example I want them to see? What is that example? Is it just work? Or is it enjoying all the aspects of life? Play and learning, growing, enjoying. You model all those things. Don't just model hard work. Don't just model going to work. Model the other things as well. Show them a totality of life. Whatever you show them is what they're going to be prone to replicate. So be responsible of your relationships, your spouse, your children, your friends. Now, maybe you aren't married. Maybe you don't have children. You do have friends. And this is something I've been chewing on the last probably 6 weeks, but really strongly the last couple weeks. And just thinking about friendship, I have a lot of acquaintances. I have a lot of people who would say, and if people ask me, I would say that they're friends, but I've just been chewing on what really is a friend. And something I feel guilty of, I feel really sorrowful about, that I'm trying to reflect on and figure this out as I move forward, is I'm a person who I serve. I love to serve. I want to serve. I look for ways, right? How can I serve the people, especially that I call friends in my life? But one thing I don't do well is allow myself to be served. I can be very closed off. I do not ask for help. I'm very close to the vest with what's going on in my life, especially that's hard, that's frustrating. And so what I came to this conclusion of is I haven't been a very good friend, because I think a friendship, just like a marriage, is two ways. If I only serve and don't allow myself to be served, I have made a really jacked up friendship. That's not friendship. I'm not allowing them, my friend, to be a friend. And so that relationship is stunted by the lack of my vulnerability, the lack of my willingness to receive and to be served. And so it becomes shallow on my end. So I was thinking about that. I think for men, that's a hard thing, because we have a hard time being served. It seems weak to us. We don't want to be a burden. We want to be a help. We want to be functional saviors. So I think it's easier for us to serve, but it's harder for us to be served. But I want to encourage you, that will hinder and stunt your friendships. It means that everything will be shallow in your life. And I think that we need, not many, but we need a handful at least of good close friends who can walk with us in the mountaintop joys of life that we celebrate with, and can walk with us in the deep sorrows of life and everything in between. So, are you thriving in your relationships? Well, let me tell you, if you're not thriving in yourself, you're not going to thrive in your relationships, because you're not going to have the physical capacity, the mental capacity, or the emotional capacity to thrive like you should be if you're not taking care of yourself, prioritizing yourself, filling up your cup so that you can pour out of a full cup instead of out of a cup with a few drops in it. So, the three aspects of a man's life: if you want to reclaim your manhood, reclaim yourself. Take responsibility for yourself, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Take responsibility for your relationships, predominantly your marriage, your parenting, your children, and your friends. 3, the final aspect that needs to be taken responsibility for is your purpose. And I break this down into 3 parts because men predominantly think about work, their vocation, which I think is the first thing, because your vocation impacts probably the most hours of your day. It impacts the financial well-being of yourself and the people closest to you, specifically with your family. It allows you to then live out the other 2 things in your purpose. Because remember, your purpose isn't just your vocation. It is also your avocation, your hobbies, which could include your community service. How are you impacting, right? Are you coaching team sports? Are you a part of, Boys and Girls Club, or all these kind of opportunities you have? Maybe just your neighbors. Like, what are you doing to be a source of good in your community? And I would encourage you, try to think about hobbies in a community aspect way. That doesn't mean you always need to do them with community, but if you love working in your shop, if you love tinkering with cars, how could you invite some people into that? Not all the time, but at least once in a while, because there's some things there that you know that, man, would be really helpful for others to know. And they might enjoy that too. They may all of a sudden go, man, that's a really encouraging time. I love hanging out with so-and-so, one Saturday a month and just tinkering on cars and learning about cars, learning about, what was interesting, with my dad is he was just so busy, and we had so much work to do. He was a business guy, but he was also a farm. He grew up on a farm, cow ranch, horse ranch, and so it was just so much work to do that it was almost frustrating, I think, for him. And I understand. I think guys understand this with kids, like you, or even with not even kids, with your work. Like it's frustrating to have to train someone when you can just do it faster. Right? When you're just like, I don't have time to train someone, I'm just going to do it. But the problem is you have too much on your plate then. And I think dads have this with their kids. When things actually need to get done, it's one thing if things don't need to get done, you have a lazy day and you can kind of play with them in the shop. But when things have to get done, you just got to do it. And it can be hard then to slow down and take the time to train your children in the ways that you're doing it. And I think my dad got busy with life, and I wish that there would have been a little more training. My dad could fix anything. My dad's always working on tractors and things. I have no mechanical skills whatsoever because it wasn't taught to me, because life was too busy. So I want to encourage you, do you have some space in your life where you're not busy, where you're able to kind of tinker and figure out what you like to do? And how can you incorporate community into that? Could be a great way to encourage people to make friends. If you're wondering, how do I make friends? There's a great way to make friends with something you like. Figure out how to do a hobby in community. Figure out how to give back to society through some kind of community service. Maybe that's your church. Maybe that's a community club. Figure out how can you take, especially as you get older, the experiences you've had to educate those, to inspire those, to encourage those younger than you. So your purpose, your vocation, are you doing something that actually fits your skills and your abilities, that gives you, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to figure out this has got to be my biggest passion. It needs to hit a lot of things. We can go into greater detail in another podcast, but make sure you're in the right seat and make sure you're moving forward if that's what you want to do. What's your vocation look like? What's your avocation look like? Your hobbies, community service. And finally, your purpose is also your adventures. How do you rest? How do you refresh? What does vacation look like? What's fun? And again, this kind of blurs maybe with hobbies, but it's also more so like it's even another step. Like, how do you vacation? What are you looking forward to in the year that's kind of bigger? Maybe you want to save up and buy a vacation house. Maybe you like going on RVing and traveling the country. Maybe you, whatever that is, like, is there something that's motivating that's not just your Saturday hobby, but it's something that you do less frequently, but really motivates you to work hard, to save up, right? To live in a way that has focus. So if you want to reclaim manhood, I would encourage you to look at these 3 areas of your life. Number 1, yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally. Are you in charge? Are you fit? Are you healthy? Number 2, your relationships. What's your marriage look like? Is your parenting intentional? What do your friendships look like? Are you pouring out as much as you receive? Are you receiving as much as you pour out? What does your purpose look like? What's your vocation? Is it purposeful right now? Or is it just getting by? Is it frustrating? Are you in a wrong seat, doing a wrong thing? Afraid to move forward because you have limiting beliefs? What's going on there? What's your avocation, your hobbies, your community service? What in life is adventurous? Part of your purpose needs to be adventure, fun, enjoyment. I want to encourage you, if you're trying to figure these things out, if I've hit some nerves that you're like, man, I'm not healthy here. And you know what? I've tried to get physically healthy and it just doesn't work. I've tried diets. I've tried the gym. I can't get it together. You know what? Mentally right now I'm fried. That's why I can't even, I have a hard enough time getting out of bed. Like getting to the gym, that's not even on the table. I'm trying to live each day. Emotionally, I'm a mess. I'm all over the place. I'm lashing out with the people I love. I'm frustrated by the people that I'm trying to, right, work, wherever it is. Maybe it's your relationships. You go, I am a show when it comes to my relationships. They're just a mess. Or maybe your purpose. Maybe you're like, dude, this is job. Maybe you're one of the people that just got fired from the tech surge or splurge or whatever they call it that just happened. 10,000 people at Google, 10,000 people Facebook, all these people, and now you don't have a job. Like, what do I do? Maybe the economic recession has impacted you. I know a lot of guys right now that are asking me like, man, I need to start a side hustle. I need to figure something out. What can I do? What can I start? Maybe you're in the wrong seat. Maybe you don't have any hobbies. Maybe your life is just dominated by work because you don't know what to do with the rest of your life. If this is you're trying to figure out yourself, you're trying to figure out your relationships, you're trying to figure out your purpose, this is what the Spartan Program does. The Spartan Program is something now, we've kind of done iterations and iterations, and now I feel like we're landing in a real sweet spot with the Spartan Program. The first part of the Spartan Program is 90 days. It takes 90 days to really change thinking and to change habits, to change your beliefs. We have to work through limiting beliefs, false beliefs. You got to change your mind. And then we need to, as we change our mind, we need to start acting that out. And that's when we change our habits, where we become a person of new disciplines. The first 90 days of the program is really focused on self. We want to get you physically healthy, mentally healthy, and emotionally stable. That's the first 90 days. After that, then we start to dive in to relationships and your purpose. We start to work on how can we be a help with you in your marriage? How can we be a help as a parent? How can we be a help with friends? How do we make you have thriving friendships of people that actually would be helpful to you, right? Sometimes we choose friends, like think about this in high school or college, you choose friends because you went to the same place. As an adult, that's why friendships are a little bit harder. If you don't make them at work where most people do, how do you make friends? How do you surround yourself with the right people that actually want to row in similar directions? And we work on your purpose. We try to help you with work to either row more effectively at the workplace you're at or help you find a place of work that would actually be more life-giving to you. Like, this is a total life change. And so this is one aspect of what I do now that I'm really excited about, the Spartan Program and where we're going with this. I want to encourage you to consider setting up a phone call with me. You can go to thespartanprogram.com if you want to check out more information about it. And you can fill out the form, and I'll give you a call and we'll chat. I'm going to be very selective with the guys that I invite to join the program. It is a paid program. But you're investing in yourself. That's what I hope is inspiring. If you want to invest in yourself to become the best version of yourself, then you should see that you should be excited about a financial investment in that because it's worth it, right? I know guys that spend $50,000+ on new trucks, new cars. You had no problem investing in that. Why wouldn't you invest in yourself? Why are you driving around an expensive truck or an expensive sports car while the vehicle of your personal vessel, your body that houses your mind, is the epicenter of your emotions, is a frickin' Pinto? Is just a junker. Why would you do that to yourself? It's just crazy to me that men struggle with investing in themselves. and yet they spend frivolously on stupid stuff that decays, and you'll trade in 5 years. Think about that. Take seriously you. Take seriously the investment of your body and your mind, your heart. Take seriously the life that you're living. And if you're interested in making that better, I would encourage you to check out thespartanprogram.com or hit me up, any of the socials, Seth Winterhalter. I'd love to chat with you. And even if it's just to inspire you, just to encourage you, that's what this is, right? I want to do as much as I can for free to help motivate you to get it together. And if you need help in that, if you need a customized plan, you need a path to figure out how long it's going to take you to get there, and you need you want to row with people that will encourage you and hold you accountable, that's what the Spartan Program is. So, until next time, reclaim your manhood. Stop the shitty excuses. Start taking extreme ownership of what really matters. And what matters? Yourself, your relationships, and your purpose. Until next time.